We're going to take a look at how to solve an absolute value equation. The definition of absolute value is the distance in number is from 0. So if we look at this guy, if we take the absolute value of some mysterious number, we're going to name him x. If we take the absolute value of that and it equals 4, that means anything that is 4 units or 4 miles from 0. So I could go 4 miles this way, I could go 4 miles this way. Well, this happens to be -4. So x is equal to 4 or -4, because if I plug either one of those into those absolute value marks, it's going to be negative or positive 4. Sometimes you'll see us write it as plus or minus 4, and that will happen more as we move on. So basically, if I have the absolute value of a plus 2 is equal to 3, well, I know the stuff inside there, that a plus 2 could be 3. So a plus 2 could equal 3, or a plus 2 could equal -3, because this could equal the opposite of that. Sometimes you'll see where they give that opposite sign to the stuff inside. With this particular example, I think it's probably easier to just do positive and negative answer. So we're going to split that into 2. Go ahead and solve. So a could be 1, or a could be -5. We're going to write our answers as a solution set using those curly braces. We have 1, -5. It is not a coordinate, so we do not use parentheses. We use curly braces to show that it is a solution set. So if we look at this guy, if we have the absolute value of something, we could think about it as a box. Something in the mysterious box is going to equal -2. Well, can distance ever be negative miles? If you've ever watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off, when they put the car up on the rack and they put it in reverse to run the miles off of the car, it's still traveling distance. It doesn't take that distance away. So this guy's going to be no solution, because an absolute value cannot equal a negative number. Another example is if we have something that looks like this, where we have 5 plus 8 times the absolute value of 2m plus 4 equals 101. A lot of times people are possessed to add these two together before dealing with it. These guys we're going to consider boogies, and those boogies are hanging on the outside of those absolute value marks. So you need to get rid of those before you deal with the absolute value. So you cannot split the problem until you get it down to absolute value equals a number. So if we look over here at like a sister example, how would we solve this? Well, if we were to solve this one, we would get rid of the 5 first. We would not add 5 plus 8, because the 5 isn't a like term. It doesn't have an x on it. So we would get rid of our 5, and we'd end up with 8x equals 96. So we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to get rid of our 5, and we get 8 times those absolute value marks of -2m plus 4 equals 96. Now, the next thing that we would do over here is we'd divide by 8. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to peel off that boogie, that 8. We're going to divide by 8. You cannot distribute into an absolute value mark. That's like jail. You can't break into jail. 8 is a free man on the outside, and he cannot come in. So until we split. So we have absolute value of -2m plus 4 equals 12. Now at this point you can go ahead and split it into your two problems. But when you do split it into your two problems, those absolute value marks no longer exist. You say -2m plus 4 is 12, or -2m plus 4 equals -12. And then we would just go ahead and solve each of those little pieces. So -2m equals 8. So m is -4. or negative 2m equals negative 16, and so m is equal to 8. Now, you always want to go back and look, is this actually going to work out? If I were to put 8 into this, I'd have negative 2 times 8 is negative 16, plus 4 is negative 12. Absolute value of negative 12 is positive 12 times 8 plus 5 is 101. So you want to check, because sometimes with absolute values you'll get extraneous solutions, things that don't work. But in this case, it does. And so we'd have our solution set of 4, 8.